colonized indigenous minds, bodies, innocence. European participants, Jesus no deliverance. Rebellion with militants, culturally different. Rape, murder incidents, justice no equivalence. Lyrical abolitionists, ancestral reverence. Soul music the resonance. Mind sharp like elephants, melanin glow, elegance. Imperial pestilence, governmental negligence. Miracle black excellence. Manipulate the elements, formulate with eloquence. Bars of social relevance. United Snakes decadence, African-centered preference. My people set the precedence. MCE the delegates, go and check the references. Get it out the sediment, evaporate impediments. This that shit excrement, our story indefinite. Saying cover by increments. Body temple instrument tuned into the infinite. Over.
All right. Welcome to Kofi Pieside TV. I am your host, Kofi Pieside or Kofi Piche. Either way, I answer to either one. Y'all hold on 1 second. Let me verify this on my end that we are live. Let's see. All right, so we are live. So welcome to those in the chat. Please leave a comment. Please like and share the show. Please like and share the show. I have two special guests on the panel today, and I will briefly introduce both of these sisters, and then we will get into the interview. So first, let me introduce my sister. You know, she is my sister, Sister Ladosha Wright, aka Key Lolo. I met Sister Ladosha. Man, it seemed like I've been knowing Sister Ladosha a long time. I only been knowing Sister Ladosha for 3 years, and within those 3 years, we have done a lot. Within those 3 years, I met Sister Ladosha via Kevin Chill, Heard, right, and ever since I met her, we've been working and been talking and conversating, and I have learned a lot from Sister Ladosha. Sister Ladosha is a licensed cosmetologist. She is a documentarian. She is an author. She is an entrepreneur, right? And she also is a podcaster. She says she has the number one podcast. Her and Cheryl has the number one podcast. But I'm here to say that next year the Griot podcast will be number one. uh, our next guest uh, is Cheryl Morrow, right? Cheryl Morrow, I met Cheryl Morrow through their podcast that they have together, the Dumbest Itch people say about black hair podcast, right? Great podcast. For I know at least a year I listened to it at least um every tried to watch it live every show, right? But I always go back and look at it in the archive, right? But Cheryl Morrow, she is the daughter of Dr. Willie Morrow, who is a businessman, an inventor, a barber, and an author, right? And also a scientist in the Afro industry. Cheryl Morrow is also a scientist in the Afro or the hair industry, right? She's also an entrepreneur and has followed in the footsteps of her father. She's also been on various documentaries. One of the documentaries is Changing the Narrative by our great sister Ladosha. I'm also on that documentary as well, so I appreciate the opportunity for being on that documentary with Cheryl and Sister Ladosha and others who graced that documentary as well, right? So now that we have that out the way, I want to say welcome to Kofi Piche TV. How are my phenomenal, beautiful sisters are doing on this lovely Sunday?
Fabulous.
Yes, super fantastic. Kofi Pieside TV magic.
Yeah, I thought about that today when I said I asked you. I know she's gonna say super duper African magic.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm glad to have y'all on the platform today. Y'all please like and share the show, y'all. Please like and share the show. I guarantee this is going to be a phenomenal interview. I've been waiting on this interview since last week, right?
Yeah.
So I wanna, before we get into what y'all got going on, I kind of want to walk the people that's in the chat and those who may come back and view this later on in the archives to I want to walk them through more of who y'all are so they can understand how this event that's coming up, what led to this event. So I think it's only right for them to get to know y'all a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, so they can understand why y'all putting on this Afro Summit convention next week, right?
Hmm.
So I want to start out first with my sister Ladosha,
Okay.
and so Sister Ladosha, you was a social worker before you was a licensed cosmetologist, a hair instructor. So what made you shift your career? You had a whole nother career, right? And then
Hmm.
you said, I want to. So what made you want to go into the hair industry?
Well, I would say what actually made me say I need to go into cosmetology was the need to use hair and correlate hair care to self care slash self esteem. In order for me to do that, I mean, there was one way to work that premise from a social service, social scientist, even a psychological, of course, perspective. But I felt, how could I make that correlation without being a licensed cosmetologist? So, because I'm all for, respecting the craft, the skill of what other people do. And too many times we encroach or we move into and we run off at our mouths about things that we're really not a part of. And we look the part, we talk the part, but we're really not in it. And so I thought, as a outreach worker, because that's what that was my title, and my degree is in social science. So I'm not a social worker. How could I, perpetrate the fraud, so to speak, and be talking about hair when I really don't have a cosmetology license? So that's why I went to school to get the cosmetology license, so that I was respecting those professionals who had, they paid their dues. They went to school, and here I am with my degree, like I'm too good to go to cosmetology school. So that was my drive.
Okay, okay. So you wanted to go get your credentials. You want to be qualified before you start actually doing the work, right?
Yeah, because it's easy to sit up and, in the ivory tower. That's what we used to say,
Right.
in social work. You sit in the ivory tower and you have all this mouthpiece, and your research, but have you worked in a hair salon? And I'm like, no. So I never wanted to be called on the carpet by another licensed cosmetologist, a school owner, an educator, a hair care company, for my efforts in helping people with their mental health when I have no background in cosmetology myself. Because like I said, we don't like that, when I was an outreach worker, we hated when people were playing doctor or psychiatry over people's head without being qualified. So how dare me do the same thing to the industry of cosmetology?
Right. No, I can respect that. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Sister Ladosha, Omar is in the chat. Omar Champion Chains. He's viewing way over there in Gambia. So peace to our good brother, Omar out there. Great poet, great poet.
Great poem.
Um, hmm so my second question, Sister Ladosha, is you are not only a cosmetology instructor here in the States, but you also an online instructor for students in Gambia. Can you explain how you became an instructor in Gambia and walk us through that process, or what does that process look like you instructing our brothers and sisters online in Gambia?
Well, in 2011, we had a situation here in Ohio where natural hairstylists who do braids, locks, twists, coils, wash and go hairstyles were charged with the task to have education. And there was a big, a big to do that they did not need any education. And the belief at that time was they didn't need the education because they were black and they already knew how to do this because they were descendants from Africa in a roundabout way. So I actually emailed every single school on the continent of Africa at that time who had an email address. And Fatou Sangay, the founder of the Gay and Joel Skills Academy, she responded. And then fast forward, during that time, we were able to, that resulted in Ohio mandating those natural hairstylists to have an education because Fatou, said, hey, you got to have a license to braid hair in West Africa for sure. And so from there, our relationship just grew. And then I went to Africa to help write their very own cosmetology curriculum. Of course, that was centered in West African cultures and values and so on and so forth. And so the pandemic happened right immediately after I left. That, there it was there. And so we would, I opened the library there in partnership with the Cleveland Public Library. And we were without education. And so we had the library. The library had all the library. I had all the computers. It was full of books. The curriculum had not yet been approved by the government, but they were working from the curriculum. So there are about, I think, maybe 5 cosmetology schools between Gambia and Senegal. They kind of share this curriculum and the government. And so we decided to go online immediately to continue the education of cosmetology. So I just want to be this, the bearer of good news for a change to say that the Gambia was the first cosmetology school to keep their education going online immediately. Once everything got shut down, we had our systems all ready to go. We used Google, the classroom. We used WhatsApp. We used YouTube, and we kept the education going. And that was pretty dope.
So shout out to Sister Fatu Sangay. Um, tell them the name of your library. What's the name of the library that you helped
The
start?
name of the library, it's a small classroom size library. It's fully stocked. They have the books like catalogs. It has computers. And so the name of the library is the Wright Library of the Gay and Joel Skills Academy.
Mhm. And she's I can co-sign that because if you go back to 2020 or a little bit maybe 2020 going to 2021 maybe we had a chance. Me and Sean had to get up super early because the time zones are different, so we ended up giving a class on the book. We have Spears of the Mossy, Volume 1, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars, and from from Spears the Pen, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars, Volume 2, in the Wright Library down there. So we was discussing and breaking down a chapter in the book, and they was in the library with the computers at the time. It was a great experience. I don't think me and Sean even slept. I don't already. I get maybe 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of sleep. But that day, I didn't get any sleep, man. I was so excited to talk to my brothers and sisters on the continent as they read the material that we publish. So, we done thanked you before, but I want to thank you again, Sister Ladosha. We appreciate you for giving us the connection where we was able to um have our books in the library, also create an event around um the book being published, publicizing your your library and putting more eyes on the Gay and Journal Skills Academy. So we definitely appreciate you for linking us with them. And ever since then, I still have a relationship with Fatu Gay, Alu Sambu, Omar Champion, and others. I can't think of the other sister who actually now she resides in New York. I talk to her from time to time on Instagram.
Mhm.
Oh, I can't think of her name, but we appreciate that. So they are up and running. Are you still in communications, or y'all still doing the online thing
Oh
right now?
yes, we just did one on relaxers.
Okay. And it
Yes, they
was on.
relax hair. They relax hair in the Gambia. So
Mhm,
yes, we did one. Yeah, if I too will be coming here in about 48 hours. So we'll talk a little bit more as we go through
mhm,
the interview.
mhm.
But yes, 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 it's still happening.
Yes, and y'all still? I know you was doing them on Mondays at one time. Are y'all still doing them on the set Mondays? Or
We do them quarterly, and
okay.
so yeah, we're still it's still working out, and we do them because now schools are open now. But yeah.
Mhm. All right. So you have it. Sister Ladosha is not only working in the state, she doing a whole lot of things behind the scenes. Um, she's pulling up at all type of conferences and events. So, shout out to Sister Ladosha for putting in work here in the States as well as over there in West Africa to help our brothers and sisters over there with their curriculum, right?
And they help
So
me, and they help me too. So let me just
right.
say,
Yeah, right. All right. So, Sister Cheryl.
yo,
So, all right. Can I get you to say South Side with me real quick? Can you say South Side with me real quick? Cause
South Side.
all right. And the reason why is you have roots in the South. You
Oh,
you have
absolutely.
you have roots in the South, So do you ever come to the South and do you embrace your Southern roots?
Okay, well, let me just say this. In San Diego, I'm from Southeast.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the part of San Diego, and that's the blackest part of Dago. Okay, and both sides of my paternal and maternal, we are the maternal is from Oklahoma, and the father side is from Alabama. Great state of Alabama.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of Southern. That Southern is the foundation of it all in my family. So we keep it real, real Southern.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm a Southern boy. I love
Absolutely.
being a Southern boy, and I was reading about your father a while back here, and I said, "Wow, he's from Alabama." So I
Absolutely.
always hear San Diego, San Diego. I said, so when I do get an opportunity, I wanted to ask you about, your Southern roots and to get you to say South Side with me. Oh
Now
man.
you ain't gotta warm me up. I'm already
Okay, okay. We have some of our sisters and brothers from the continent in the chat. There's the Gay Journal Skills Academy. Peace to
man.
everybody. So, this is a
woo!
treat. There we again we are on way. It's late over there, y'all. So, we appreciate y'all for gracing y'all presence in the chat. It's
Absolutely.
so we appreciate y'all.
Sure, Jeff. That's the only word I know.
Right, library. Yep. So again, shout out to everybody in the chat. Peace to everybody that's in the chat. Please like and share the show. Please like and share the show, please. So Cheryl,
Yes.
your father, Dr. Morrow, wrote a book in wait, no, before we even get into the book. So I want to know, how old were you when you said to yourself you wanted to follow in your father's footsteps?
Oh my goodness. I 5. I was a
Wow.
daddy. I was a daddy's girl
I
from
can
day
tell. I can
from
tell.
day one.
Mm-hmm.
And to my mother's credit, she never bothered and interfered with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very early on when I saw a couple of books in his briefcase. And in our home, he would always take the briefcase and put it in the study, which was next to my bedroom. So I would sneak and open his briefcase, and it was a little black book and his gun,
Mm-hmm.
which I still have to this day, actually. And we grew up in a household where my father believed that he should lay anything down and his children shall not touch it. And so we didn't. But I pushed the envelope a little bit. And so my mother would always shoo me away from that book. And I was fascinated with that book. And I was fascinated with his mind, I guess. I wanted to know what he was thinking and doing. So it was already preset and predestined that I would
At
be
5
fast.
years old, I'm sorry.
Well, and because I remember my fifth birthday, and my father came home from the barbershop to make sure that I had a wonderful fifth birthday. And I remember being a very happy black girl. I just remember feeling like that. But my mother had one rule: do not touch my children's hair. You
Wow.
you can you can experiment on me, but do not. So even to the last day, my father would have like really triggers around, touching, my younger sister's hair, like, ugh, like, girl, warm your mother up about that. So yeah, I was a daddy's girl from the very start.
Wow. And your mom didn't want him to touch your hair, even when he was doing
No,
some
no,
some
no.
great things. He
She
was
didn't
keep.
care.
She didn't care.
No,
Wow.
you touch mine. I,
Wow.
I'm married to you, not my children.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
she set that boundary early on, and the
Right.
psychological effect of that uh, places, especially girl children, into a specialness that you just can't teach later on in life. So yeah,
Mm.
I had a set of good principles there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, because I had been wondering about that, how long, because no matter what I pull up about your father, I pulled up in the past. Like I said, I wish when I was doing my African hair book, I didn't catch wind of him until like I
Mm,
was done, and I really wanted to stop and put him in the book, but as I said on the early one, y'all interviewed me that I had already delayed the book like 2, 3 times. It was initially supposed to came out in December, November, then December, and then it finally came out around April. So it's something that I wanted to do, and we
yeah,
gonna talk about it because I'm mad at you. I'm gonna just tell you I'm mad at you, but I'm gonna tell you why I'm mad at you in a little bit. I'm gonna tell you why I'm mad. But let's get into um your father. He wrote a book in 19 he actually wrote two books. He wrote a book in 1966, um, The Principles of Cutting and Styling Negro Hair.
mm-hmm,
And he wrote another book in 1973 called 400 Years Without a Comb.
mm-hmm,
So my question to you is, are you going to write your own publication one day, or are you going to revise um his 1973 400 years without a comb and his 1966? And the reason why I'm saying revise is because I hadn't read none of them, but I'm saying is that it was published in 1973 and 1966, so the times has changed, more information has developed, and I know through what your father done between 1973 and what you done between that time of following in your father's footsteps. Y'all are scientists in the hair world, right? So I know y'all have, found other things that may work, things that may have worked some, may not be best now. So that's why I'm asking, or have you ever thought about revising some of his works or even publishing your own publication one day?
Mm-hmm. I started in 2006 with Beauty and Myth, which I finished, and I wrote that in 19. I mean, in while I was in New York in 2006. Beauty and Myth. It's on, it's available. I self-published, but one of the things about generational wealth is that um, I'm much more of an intrapreneur. And so, and since when you grow up in a house that, your father has pretty much done most of the heavy lifting and the investigation and the examination, there's not much, for me to do, but to only expand the ideas. I'm
Mhm.
not rewriting anything. So,
Okay.
in an entrepreneur kind of energy, you just take what the real fruit or the roots of the tree, and all you have to do is expand it and make it palatable and appropriate for today's language or today's trends, or and so that I have an easier start, but as the expansion kind of fills out, especially in the issues that me and Ladosha are trying to combat, it's for me the expansion. And so I have to be double creative to retranslate what is old and what is at the foundations, but to expand it into the present. But then I have a third responsibility. I've got to make it palatable and translatable for the future generations that I will never see. And so I have to kind of forecast what the whole collective mind will be doing, let's say in 2060, and as we are well into the age of Aquarius, which I happen to be an Aquarius. Very proud. You too, Ladosha, right?
No, I'm a
Oh,
cool
you're a
chick
Scorpio.
Scorpio. I'm the
Anyway,
chick Zodiac.
so so I gotta really step it up, and Kofi and Ladosha and in the audience, I have no excuse to not do it. And so we have some future works. I got my part two to the 400 years without a comb is a book, and is a piece called Afrophilia, and it is opposite of Afrophobia, and try to go into why we think and feel and the way we do and what is appropriate for the future and how Black people should feel and talk about each other in the Black conversation.
Okay, all right. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. So the 400 years without a comb. How I'm asking for me. I ain't asking for nobody else. I'm asking for me. How can I get 400 years without a comb? How can I get it?
Two ways.
Okay.
It's going to be available on afroscience.com after we come back from the Afro Hair Science Summit in Cleveland this weekend, next weekend, and I will be bringing a few with me. And I have an autograph because I had the aptitude of allowing Mr. Morrow to sign about 40 of them before his ascension.
All right.
So
So I'm just
you're gonna get one of those copies, my brother.
oh man, because I mentioned when y'all interviewed me, I mentioned about I wanted to do I wanted to write an article on your father because the information that I had, like I said, I learned right after I had did my book was his story is inspiring to me, and some of the things that he did, I'm aspiring to do. I have been aspiring to do so. It motivated me for a man in the 60s, the 70s to do some of the phenomenal things that he did for as a businessman because not only did he have a barbershop, he was an inventor, and he had other businesses, right? So that inspired me. So if he was able to, then this was my dream, some of those things of being a businessman and owning certain properties and leaving those businesses to my offsprings, right? So um I want to get that book. That's why I've been pressuring about the book, because I want to kind of read the book, because I think I want to get to know him a little bit more through reading his material. So that's why I'm pressed about getting the book, and I wanted to write. And after, if it's okay with you, I either wanted to write
Mhm.
an article on your father, going a little bit in depth, or
Yes,
either writing or revising my Africa's Hair before doing it after slavery, and inserting him into a chapter in that book and republishing that book where he has his own chapter within that book, because I definitely hate that I didn't put him in that book when I spoke about other people.
absolutely.
Okay.
All is possible, and I think that we should all encourage you to do that.
All right. All right.
Absolutely.
So I'm just letting you know that this is being recorded, right? So it's recorded on my Rodecaster Pro, and it's recorded in the Facebook world. So if you say you didn't say I had a copy, signed copy, then I'm gonna blast this interview and then take the audio.
I have no qualms about honoring my word, brother Kofi.
All right. I'm just messing with you. All right. So, all right. So now for people, okay, how did, this is a question for both of y'all, man. How did both of you all meet? And what made both of you say, hey, let's do a podcast together? For people that may not know, that just came in, Sister Ladosha and Sister Cheryl has a podcast called The Dumbest Itch People Say About Black Hair, right? It's a great podcast. I listen to it all the time. Like I said, they talk about topics, talk about stuff that you never heard of, stuff that you may have heard of. They're pushing the envelope on Afro hair, man. They have great discussions over there, so go check it out. But what made y'all, well, how did y'all meet first? That's a twofold question. How did y'all meet? And then what made y'all want to do a podcast together, where y'all carved out some time every Monday? Y'all do a show every Monday. So let's talk about
Well, so in essence of time, I'll just cut through the chase. About 2.5 years ago, a customer came in and she wanted a Jerry curl service at the request of her grandmother, who didn't want her to pay $800 for another service called the Gina Curl. So I had never heard of the Gina Curl. So I just went to look it up. And when I looked it up, here's this Caucasian sister who had rebranded Dr. Willie Morrow's California Curl.
it. Hmm.
And you know me, a little passionate, Patty. I got a little upset, not at her, because people rebrand and repurpose stuff. This happens in the beauty industry all the time. There is nothing new. I was really mad at the media for not giving, when I say media, like the people who were writing articles about her, to your point, Kofi, why you wanted to have his book so that you can include his works in your writing. So I can appreciate that, because I was upset that they were not giving him his credit. Like, how you gonna write an article saying that she's saving Black women from the toils of natural hair? Because now the natural hair movement is falling. I mean, this thing is cascading like no other, which I had already predicted. The natural hair movement is a farce. It is not going to work. And so I reached out to, I reached out to Dr. Morrow, and I got Cheryl. And so, because, I thought I'm about to tell, I'm telling Dr. Morrow. So I got Cheryl on the phone. I mean, I actually inboxed her on Facebook, and my friend Yak Azalee Fisher in Baltimore. She was actually attempting to make the connection actually simultaneously, but Cheryl responded to the Facebook inbox. And so she asked me, I asked her, can she call me? So she called me and we began to have this discussion that we're having now. And as I was talking to her, I thought I might, shore up some of my knowledge, Why not? I wanted to demonstrate that I was the elite. Only by about 3 points into my efforts to show her that I knew my stuff, to come to find out that I didn't, and that I had been in fact miseducated and oversold some misinformation, and I was completely embarrassed, and I wanted to just. I said, well, if I'm wrong, then that means a whole bunch of us licensed professionals are wrong. And so I was tearfully embarrassed and angry. And so, my response at the end of the day was just a retort, well, that's not the narrative that I was given. And she just was very, patient, not judgmental, but like, what, we don't control the narrative. We have to do something about that. I can't be out here, she's already retired as a cosmetologist. I'm out here. And she says, well, you're going to have to do something about that. And so about that I did,
That's right.
and so we've been here. It's been bittersweet, for me to know that some of the information, I have it on my YouTube channel. It's just a bunch of hocus pocus focus on other people's stuff. And so the gig is up, and we need to fess up that we have been lying from what we've been taught. And it's not all in vain, but some of it has been, and some of it isn't, because we haven't had access to the information. And this is a blow to an industry that's in modern day times, it's built on a lie. So when you asked her, will she be, revising and adding to her dad's work, I think it's really important, because Black people, the bulk of us, I would say 98.9% of us, we're bunch of lies, and we need to stop, because the only people we're hurting are each other, and of course our customers are paying a horrible price so that we can look good in the world of social media. And so that's how I met her, and this is how we're here today. Thank you so much, Truth to Power. That we have to do exactly what your name says. We have to speak truth to power. I think Dr. Ma'at says that all the time, and this is hard, because I'm comfortable. I made a lot of money in those lies, but it's okay. We're going to do better. And so Cheryl has been extremely just patient and understanding and empathetic in our struggles as African Americans, and our white brothers and sisters who too have been denied access, and just as much as we have. So we don't know as much as we think we know, and we can't get mad at them for what they don't know. But her dad has the information, and we plan on putting it out there to help liberate those who are interested.
Well said.
No, Devin. So Cheryl put the call out there, and you answered the call, Sister Ladosha. Yes, no doubt, no doubt. So, so what is Afro hair science? What is? I hear y'all use that term, Afro hair science. Can y'all explain, briefly what is? Y'all don't have to go in full depth, but what is Afro hair science?
Um, Let me ask you guys a question. And since we have a beautiful African audience, you guys have heard of Ubuntu Goji. Ubuntu Goji.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ubuntu Goji. Ubuntu. Yes, ma'am. One of my companies is named. It's not Ubuntu. It's Ubuntu. But it's, what I'm saying. That's my company. But yes, Ubuntu. Yeah, Ubuntu.
And that approach is encompassed in the weekend. And so we approach it first by starting, and I don't know if we did it unconsciously, but it is our weekend is starting with the African presence and the root of the beautification process. And the pedagogy that we are going to be teaching in is the encompass of the 360 value system, the arts and sciences of Afro curly hair. As we approach it, we don't separate the technique, the mechanics from our value system, from our psychological compass. And so it's starting with the root of the braiding. And maybe subconsciously, we end that night with Afro spirituality and how the environment and the principles and the life sciences and the psychological aspects that are healthy for the whole total well-being of the African human being. And so Afro hair science is it encompasses the full energy of the total persona and the spirit and how we function, our ethos, our pathos, our logos of who we are, and to reignite and to reset that African center. And so we can think and behave in ways, as I always say, in our best interest. And so beauty usually softens the tough conversations as we can go into other issues such as political and social and all that other wonderful stuff. But and then it expands into the mechanics the next day, and then a collective conversation so we can reunite the trust factor. And I always say we only have one gap, and that's the trust gap. And so if you trust me and I trust you, we can definitely educate each other and inform each other, and then we can do better and modify, do some social re-engineering. And it ends with the correct biology, the correct terms, the correct cosmetology terms, the scientific terms, chemistry terms, and we turn it right side up into where we don't have to memorize. We have to only feel things to be true. And once we feel things to be true, we don't have to memorize them. And that is where the true education is. And so we're going to be teaching history and biology and hair loss and Afro science and chemistry and salon business.
And we're going to, Fatu is coming here. She'll be
Yes.
traveling here from the Gambia, and she's going to teach the braiding technique that
Yeah.
birthed cornrow braids. And this to me is just absolutely phenomenal. Like, and I know when I went over there, right? And I'm just I'm trying to show my Africanness because I'm from the hood. And so when you down the way, you ain't really African if you can't cornrow braids. So when I went to, we call them French braids, but now it's called cornrow braids. But anyhow, so when I went there, I'm just kind of like showing off my cornrow, my French braids, and they were like, what are you doing? And so I'm like, I'm African, and they're like, girl, bye. And so there's just so much more that we don't know, and we're just here in America thinking like, we've got it all, and we're so divisive that it's a black thing. And when I was there, they was like cultural appropriation, like, what is that? I'm like, white people still like black people stuff, and they're like, no, braiding is for everybody. Like, this is
Yes.
not, and that all of this stuff, it was just like, what? So this is just wonderful because the segregation that's happening in the beauty industry, it's awful. I mean, a woman said to me at a presentation, she did not want white people learning how to do any cornrow braiding, any twisting, any locking, any combing out of Afro textured hair. And I said, well, do you have like white dentists and white doctors? She was like, yeah. And I'm like, so wait, a white doctor can touch your vagina, but a white person can't touch your hair? And she just looked at me. I'm like, What's happening, Kofi? What's going on? Help us out. We need this interview.
Mhm.
Well, I
Wow.
hope did we answer your question?
Man, you answered the question and you went into my next question, about the Afro Summit. I had been feeling kind of sad, and I was talking to my wife the other day. My wife and my daughter, they gone, and they in Iowa, and I was talking to her over the phone. They'll be back next week, and so I take my wife when I travel. I take my wife. My wife is like my personal assistant, right? So when I'm traveling, doing speaking engagements or trying to sell some stuff that I got going on with my little small business, I always take her. So I was telling her about the event and how close it was to um my wedding anniversary and my birthday. And I hate, especially with Cheryl just laid out everything that y'all gonna be talking about on those 3 days, man, and answer the totality of what Afro science is, man. And Fatu Gay, who I admire so much. Boca, that's all they say in Boca and Boca. My
Okay,
family,
okay.
yeah, in Boca, which we partner and did my company in Boca Family Connect Apparel. You know what I'm saying? Was expired by Fatu Sangay and Alu, who came to me with the ideal about the selling the clothes. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get it to Gambia because it was for me to start it here in the States, and then in Boca Family Connected, I wanted to hand it off to them in Gambia, but we had some issues. And maybe one day we're able to get it there where people can be able to purchase uh the clothing from there. But right now I'm holding it down over here. But again, I just hate that I'm missing it and it's so close. And I almost was like, hey, look, my birthday and my wedding anniversary on the same day. I got married on my birthday.
Oh
So
wow.
I almost said, hey, forget my birthday and anniversary. We going to Cleveland, but I know my my wife will
Don't
have
do
a
that,
fit.
Kofi. What happened?
I yeah, I
We
be
know
having.
you, Mrs. Pie Side.
So unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to come because that Monday that it includes the next week. We leaving for a whole week for Florida, so we gonna be out of town for a whole week to celebrate my birthday and our wedding anniversary. So that's the reason why I can't make it. But I know just the information that y'all just talked about. I know it's gonna be a very informative and heartwarming because just the information that Cheryl just said, I received it in my soul so much, man. That's why I say I'm feeling down because I know it's going to be powerful and our people need this type of information. We was talking a while ago about y'all saying y'all are getting some pushback from people because of the information or the information that y'all are correcting, right? Y'all want our people to have the proper information. So my question is, how how is what is the danger of misinformation when it comes to Afro hair? What is the danger?
Good question. When you're educating adult Black people, we have to learn two ways. We have to unlearn and then we have to relearn.
Mhm.
And the unlearning is very triggering and traumatic because life changes as you know it. And the second level is that that was not your fault. But the other issue is that you got to get it together really quick because the next step is your fault,
Mm.
is your responsibility. You have to relearn because you learned how to walk in this life out of your best interest and in the interest of someone else or some other group. You learn to literally, as Dr. Amos Wilson says, be literally outside of your mind or your African mind. It's a state of thinking, of existing that's against your best interest. And so in the world of cosmetology, because so long it was not deemed or endorsed or embraced as worthy of any critical scientific thought, it went unimportant. So when things are unimportant, well, everyone begins to make it up as they go at that point. And when you don't know that, in teaching in terms of cosmetic, which means signs and symbols and patterns and shapes, well, then when you connect those dots, then you find out the information was always there. Then you have a sense of responsibility to relearn and to work into your best interest. And that is probably the ultimate inheritance that I got from Mr. Morrow. And that was the sense of responsibility to study yourself. And though it is good to study those of your oppression, but once you unlearn that, well, what is the mores and the actions and the behaviors that go along with the relearning? And so Afro Hair Science is turning chemistry up, right side up. It's turning physics right side up. It's turning chemistry right side up. I mean, it's turning everything right side up to where you can see it and it resonates with your cognitive dissonance. All those years of thinking hard, and biology not making sense, mathematics not making sense, science not making sense.
And I'm just going to interrupt. For me as a cosmetologist, that was bothering me. So let's just say, for example, when and this is not, I'm not like, I don't have a PhD, so okay. So you can learn this stuff in high school, but I was in college, I took a biology course, and I remember them teaching us that skin was hydrophobic. It's not taking stuff in, and I remember them telling us that things can't really go into the skin unless it was a medicine, and so it had small molecules and some other biological word I can't remember. And when I became a cosmetologist, and they were teaching that, these conditioners the hair could like suck it in and take it in. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, when I was in college, and so, but you're going along with this, stuff, and you're saying it. And in reality, if you are a licensed cosmetologist or a natural hairstylist and you're watching this, just drop in the chat and tell the truth. The customers be like, that's some bullshit. Like, this ain't working. But we're like, well, the company said, the company, and this is and I'm trying to find some products I don't have any around me. So the company is teaching us to say these things, and we're trying to make it make sense because we're trying to, we want to work. We want to make money. We want to make money from behind the chair. We don't want to just do hair. We don't want to send all the money to the, Sally's and the beauty supply store. So we want to sell some stuff too. But the customers are really challenging us. And Kofi, I'm telling you, we're losing because it's not working. And so Cheryl was giving me the truth, and it hurt. It really, really hurt it because I wanted it to be true, even though I had that context early that this was a lie. And so I just wonder how many more of us were in the space that I was in. So this is my truth. And I'm asking anyone in the industry who has this position to come to this summit. And we don't have to work like this. And we can't have sensational and razzle dazzle. This is fun. This is beauty. You know what I'm saying? But do we have to lie? Do we have to segregate and say Black people, white people? You know what I'm saying, Kofi? So this is what she's talking about, and we have to address it.
So what is it? And this is my final question. So what do you all, and what do we all have to do to help y'all get this type of information into the so-called professional cosmetologist institutions? What type of action do y'all need to take, and what type of action do we need to take to help y'all?
Go ahead, Ladosha. Now I'll
Okay.
expand.
Well, I can tell you in all honesty, the first thing we could do is spread the news about the summit, because this is the first time ever that we're doing it. There are people who've been sitting around and they know I did not know of Dr. Willie Morrow's work until I met Cheryl. Okay. So some people have been knowing this all along and they just refused to say anything, or they couldn't. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but it just wasn't said. So one, can you please spread? Two, if you're a licensed barber, cosmetologist, natural hairstylist, you're an instructor, you're a teacher, you own a school, come to the summit so that you can hear the truth. So that would be number two. Number three, we hope one day that we can have the opportunity to write some legislation that requires by law, you have to know this. There's no reason. We've been in this country for, free, as enslaved or descendants for what, like 200 years. 97 of those years we've been teaching cosmetology and barbering. Zero, zero, zero on Afro hair. That can't be. So we need to write the legislation that says everybody must know this Afro hair science. There's no way in 2023 a Black person should walk into a white hair salon and be told they can't be serviced because what? I don't do your hair. So those would be the three things. One, share the information. Two, please show up. It's very affordable. You can show up, come to Cleveland and sit with us and help us bring this to light. And then three, if we get that opportunity to make this a law, because you have to have a license to do it, you have to have the education, then you must know how to do it. So to me, those are the three ways that whoever's watching it, please come and join Cheryl and I. Cheryl's a wonderful educator. This is not divisive. This is not Black against white. This is not that type of platform. This is not a hair show. We promise you, we're not selling any hair care products. We're not selling anything. We have books. We'll have a book bar, and we have free workshops. You can visit afrohairscience.com to learn more. But this is really from that ethos. That's what Afro Hair Science is. So, Cheryl?
Yeah. And I want everyone to realize that read books. And you showed us a picture of all the books you were reading, Kofi, but every mind is a book. And so I am not educating you. I'm not teaching you anything new. And what the African mind in the Western world has been taught by an unlearning process. The African information has always been there, and it's inside of you. I'm only going to light the flame and allow you to ask yourself better questions. And once you ask better questions, and yes, like the master mentor, Maya Angelou says, you knew what you did what you knew to do. We are going to re-know, and so we can do better. And so we are going to get into the energy of being compassionate towards each other. We are not going to point the finger or blame. We are going to point out what the information that is what we call junk research out of your brain, junk information, delete those files. And we are going to put this and set the new information, reset the button. And hopefully we will be able to behave in ways that are conducive for profits, capitalism. Yes, we're going to do that. We are going to set our minds to the point where any business that we endeavor into beauty and fashion, that we are eating the lion's share, first and second. So we are going to just kind of recalibrate our brains with this information. And I'm excited to do that. I'm going to bring it. We're going to tell the truth. We are going to allow us to be courageous because truth requires us to be courageous. And so we're going to do that. And I look forward to it. I'm going to miss you, brother. I wish I can wrap my arms around you, but I'm going to miss you, but I'll catch you next time.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. I won't miss the next one. I won't miss. Hopefully, y'all won't schedule it the middle of July if y'all.
Okay, we're going to check with you the next time.
Yeah,
That's
because
right.
because I really I really really hate that I can't come. I've been beating myself up ever since I seen the dates and wasn't able to try to pull it off. It was so close, and I just I can't make it. But
But you know what? You having us onto your platform is, I mean, it's equally
Yeah,
as beneficial and honoring, as if we had your presence because Cheryl and I, we know we're the outliers in this situation. But we can't sit on it. And a lot of people, because we don't have the million followers, let's just be honest. This isn't really sexy, it's not something that it doesn't come across as very cool. And so we know that we're going to be the first people to do it. So you allowing us to be on your platform and to share the information with your viewers, this is just as wonderful and
thank you.
equal as to you being there. So it means a lot to me that you would be so kind to, let me in your world because, when Chill first brought me the book, I think I have the book. Oh yeah, I have the book here. So I have my book. So when Chill got my book, you know, he had me buy the book. I'm up here like I ain't about to read about no spears. I'm a girl, I'm not gonna read this book. I'm such a girl. I'm a real big sissy. And to Cheryl's point, books read books. And so when I read this book, I mean, it blew my mind. And so for you to allow us to be here, you guys are absolutely wonderful. I love the Kofi Pasta research team, Sue Tech, Sean, all of the guys. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. So your information is just, it's thebomb.com. It speaks to the people from where the people are. So we appreciate you, Kofi, very much.
no doubt. And I just want to tell y'all, stay bold, stay courageous, stay dedicated to what y'all are doing. You keep saying y'all are the first, and like I said, when I listen to y'all podcast, I hear a lot of information that is foreign to me that I never heard of before when it dealing with the hair care industry and the beauty industry, right? So and I like I said, like y'all said, y'all been having pushback. Don't let that pushback discourage you. Let that pushback motivate you and keep you dedicated to fulfilling the mission that both of y'all own, or the purpose that y'all have right now, and that is correcting the misinformation that has been presented to us for years. So again, I appreciate both of y'all for the work and the efforts that y'all have put in. And again, can y'all give those dates for the Afro Hair Summit that y'all having next week, just in case anybody don't know that may want to fly out that's in the surrounding areas? Can y'all give those dates out again?
Yeah, catch some of those cheap flights. I'm getting some alerts in my email right now as we speak, particularly for Frontier or Front Tire, as my cousin would say. But no, go ahead on and try to catch a flight or drive over if you're nearby. You're in Detroit, Chicago, Kentucky, Pittsburgh, any of the surrounding states that's touching Ohio. Get in the car and come on over and visit afrohairscience.com. It's going to happen this weekend. Cleveland, we are the host city for our very first Afro Hair Summit. We're talking 3 days of wonderful, wonderful Afro hair education for the Afro hair aficionados. It's something for every single person. We're talking about children, families, licensed barbers, cosmetologists, natural hairstylists, the students of those disciplines, the instructors of those disciplines, dermatologists, politicians, the public. Everybody is welcome. You typically don't see this. And I must reiterate again, this is not a hair show. And I'm saying that because a lot of people are like, I don't go to the hair show because all they do is products and they're no good. I get that. I've bought some stuff too and was like, why did I buy this stuff? But this is different, guys. The Iris S. and Bert Wolstein Research Center is where Cheryl is going to be teaching Afro hair science. I'm telling you, this is like, isn't it, Cheryl? The facility is like,
it's gorgeous.
You guys, it's absolutely gorgeous to come and sit. It's comfortable, it's high tech, state of the art learning, comfort, ease with the desk that pulls up. It's wonderful. I promise you guys, you won't be disappointed. The book bar are books by people from the industry. So this is for you guys. This is us.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, y'all got any last words? That's I don't have. I got 1,000 more questions, but if I answer, we'll be on here a whole nother hour. I got a bunch of questions, but
hit one more good question before we, and then that way, give us one more good question that you
come on,
like.
Kofi.
Give us
your deepest.
Well, I wanted to ask Cheryl, was it overwhelming for you to take on the businesses of your father? And a lot of your father was not only a barber, he not only was an instructor, he was not only an inventor, but he was a businessman. So he owned a barbershop, he owned a newspaper, he owned a radio station. So were you overwhelmed by taking on those responsibilities for your father after he retired?
Let me make it clear. Actually, if you were to have asked him that, he was only following a template, because that's what his great master mentors, that's how they operated. You have to remember, John Johnson and George Johnson and S.B. Fuller required Black men and women to have an idea. You're supposed to create a media piece. You are supposed to stop begging for media attention and stories and interviews. Get your own magazine, put your own stuff in it, and you're supposed to move in this real template kind of model. Mr. Morrow, when you move into this African paradigm that is tried and true, success will be the result. Maya Angelou says, purse the things that you love to do and the monetary reward will be the result. This is like guaranteed. But when we go against those principles, so Mr. Morrow, he wasn't, in the interview, like Ladosha says, he was still formulating until the end. This is what's required. And so, and as you know, to much whom is given, much is yet required. And so this is just the task. And in the generational wealth conversation, even you are going to have to be confronted to one day being succeeded. Your children are going to replace you. And you have to wrap your mind around that your elder years must do something else. And your children must, supersede you. And so all of these things are always, this is in the conditioning. This is at 12 years old. This is at 21 years old. This is at 35. It just doesn't happen. And so I knew one day it would happen. And of course, you love your parents so much that you hope you never get it, because that means that that's the end of them. And so you don't want to come to that. But the natural process of the African paradigm allows us to have our ancestors go into the other realms and guide us from there, and we must act appropriate. So, in other words, I was a good princess. So you got to be a good princess before you're a queen. And so I was prepared, and you know, I just got to do what I came here to do, and that's is to maximize the moment. And I'm just glad my sister and you, Kofi, you guys are along with this ride, and we got to do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yes, and
That's
that's
that was powerful.
yes, that was it was
Thank you.
it actually it really what she just said kind of inspired me, especially with the model. And the model that model is somewhat of what I'm doing right now. Um, I got a publishing company, so I don't have to wait on nobody to publish a book if I'm trying to get some information out on any type of subject matter, especially if the information is inaccurate and I want to put another side of the information out there. I don't have to wait on anybody. I don't have to wait for my information to be rejected. Um, I don't if I wanna do a commercial, I don't have to wait on pay somebody on their schedule. I got my own equipment, I can do my own thing. If I wanna present some information online, I got my own platform. If I wanna sell my own clothes, I got my own apparel. So I'm following that model and that's a brilliant model to have, especially when you said the newspaper in the radio station, and you and Ladosha is always talking about changing the narrative, right? And this is the only way that we able to change the narrative if we follow
Absolutely.
those models, man. That is beautiful, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm very touched. I'm very touched right
Yeah,
now. I'm
that,
very
that
inspired.
yeah, that was very powerful. And that's the thing
Mhm,
about, what we're doing. This makes people feel very uncomfortable. And I
mhm,
can only speak for myself. I don't want to project onto other people, because if you're on the receiving end that what you're doing is wrong, and what you are saying is wrong, no matter how good it makes you feel, no matter how many likes you're getting, because social media is now really a part of everybody's world, just about. Wrong is wrong. And so for me, it was very hard to look this woman, listen to her on the other end of the phone, because it threatened a place where I was making money, and where I was looking real cute, I was looking real good in that space, and I did not want that to change. But you know how your parents say, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So her saying that to me, it stung. It really did. I felt like, you going there, home girl, but I was wrong. And I had to face up to it. And so for
mhm.
us as African Americans, I can only speak from that perspective. We have to do that, guys. I know it doesn't make us feel good, but to your point, Kofi, this is why we have our own platforms, because we know CNN ain't letting us on. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna happen. So we'd rather be with you, and in Cheryl's space, to be able to help those who can handle it. Because this is very hard. It's going to be hard, and well, it was for me. Let me just say that it was for me. So Cheryl, that was just absolutely powerful.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Mr. Dudley used to always say, that SB Fuller used to always say, keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. And Mr. Dudley would say, well, why do you keep telling me to keep talking? I want you to teach me. He says, the only reason why I want you to keep talking, I want to know how ignorant you are. So a surgeon needs to cut you before he makes you better. He has to have a scalpel. And so if it's stung, that just means that you're willing to be vulnerable so something can go in. And
Mhm.
at that point, then you can go do your purpose and your destiny with the right information.
Yeah. Yeah. You,
Oh,
you you never know where these are going to lead you. I never thought in a million years I was going to meet Dr. Willie Morrow. I mean, think of the person you admire most, Kofi, in your line of work. Who ever think you get to meet the person who made it possible for us to do everything we're doing, from combing our hair to altering it to whatever? You're going to meet this man, and he gives you his blessing to go forward. He didn't say stay there. He said go there. And then once I said okay, he was like, now move out my way, because I'm still formulating. And that is in that piece isn't, but I will show it. He was like, move on, little girl, go ahead on and take it to the next level. But I got formulas to make. And that's the honest to God truth.
Oh man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful. So y'all, let's give it up for our guest today on the special edition of Warrior Scholars, uh, episode 32. We appreciate y'all for coming on. Y'all, let's give it up for them again. Again, y'all go check out their podcast. It's on Ladosha's YouTube channel. Their podcast is The Dumbest Itch, that black people say about hair. So please go check out that. They on every Monday at, what is it, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time?
6.
Six
O'clock.
o'clock Eastern
Yeah.
Standard. Oh, it's 5 o'clock my time. It's
Right.
5 o'clock my
Oh
time,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I appreciate y'all. This was a great interview for me. It was
Thank you.
everything that I thought it was gonna be. Like I said, I couldn't wait to do the interview. So again, I appreciate y'all. If y'all need anything from me, just reach out to me, man. And I'm willing to do whatever I need to do, man, to help y'all.
Thank you. Oh, don't forget to visit afrohairscience.com.
Yes, go to the website. Go to the website. And we out of here, y'all. We'll see y'all in a couple of weeks on the up and coming #1 podcast, the Griot. And by the way, by me saying this too, y'all are griotes. Y'all
Woo!
are griotes. And the griot and a griot, griot is a male, the griot is a virgin male.
Oh,
And those are people who have special roles in West African traditions. They facilitate many, many, many roles. One of the roles is education, right? We always say the role is storytelling. That is only one role, right? So they are educators, right? Those griot and griot is also warriors, which they gloss over that role. So these sisters are warriors in their own right, and they are educators in their own right. So again, I appreciate y'all for coming on, my fellow griotes. And we are out of here.